Hello, Merlin. My name is Graeme Duncan. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Kainantu Resources Ltd, a TSX-V exploration company. Our assets are based in Papua New Guinea. We have three primary assets within the Kainantu region, within Frieda River area, and also near Opteti, and they being Kili Teke Resource, previously owned by Harmony Gold, and May River, owned by two investors. So we're primarily an exploration company, but with the recent acquisition of Kili Teke and May River, we believe that we've moved down the development curve. We have assets now that have defined resources.
Great, thank you very much. Great introduction. So a TSX-V company, small market capitalization, you've just raised $3 million Canadian, or just under, and you're working in Papua New Guinea. Is most of the team based in Australia, and how many people have you got on the ground in Papua New Guinea?
We have management who are based in Singapore and Australia, but also spend a fair bit of time in Port Moresby and in the assets in PNG. We have a significant geological team comprising senior expats and local geologists, field teams who are based in PNG and full-time working on the projects.
Okay, and you've got three quite distinct areas. You've got the KRL licenses, KRL North and South, around the mine, the Kainantu mine.
Yes.
You kind of bookend it on structure north and south by looking at the presentation. You've got the May River, which is kind of 400 kilometers off to the west, up the spine of the island, which is right next to the Frieda River, well-known 20 million ounce, 12 million tons of contained copper porphyry there. Yes. And you've now got this third license area with resources that you picked up from Harmony, which has got kind of a South African standard resource base on it. Can you just talk to me about where your focus is this year? What your plan is? £3 million, $3 million Canadian. Which I think you actually raised 2.7 or 2.8. Doesn't go far. So you've got to work out how you're going to feed your children. Who's going to get the biggest portion?
Yes. Well, the primary focus in the first half of the year has been exploring our KRL North and KRL South tenements, primarily with field work, field mapping, and trenching in both of those areas. We were planning to develop a drill target from that work, and we have also undertaken an aerial MT geophysical survey over both KRL North and a couple of areas of KRL South, which we find is complementary to the field work that we're doing. So the focus on those assets was really developing them to a stage where we could define some drilling targets, and that has been the focus. In terms of May River,
hang on, just on that, on KRL. So you say that's been the focus to develop drill targets. Has that been successful? Have you got a drill plan lined up? What's the thinking on that? The next step for that license area? Are you going to put in because the Kainantu mine is a series of steeply dipping high grade veins, isn't it? And you've got the kind of the continuation. Can you see the continuation at surface? Have you got indications that this kind of extends onto your property area?
We have indications from the structural and mineralization mapping that's quite extensively reported. We have done our own sort of field work in the KRL North area, and we also ran the aerial survey, and the conductivity results from that indicate quite strongly that the features that are exhibited in K92 should continue into the southeast and southwestern corners of KRL North.
Okay, so you've got some genuine drill targets there.
Very close to. We've We've been doing some ground truthing from the geophysics, surface mapping, soil sampling, drainage sampling, just to really confirm that that what we're seeing in the geophysics is actually evident on the ground. And we believe that not only is it, I guess, validating our ideas on what we have, but we also feel it's identifying some other targets, some epithermal targets, and maybe showing that there's some of the deeper porphyries would bridge between K92 and KRL area.
And just for my benefit, what's the terrain like? Is it when I picture PNG, it's always quite rugged and forested. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's quite rugged. It takes a little while to get around, but we have a local team that they just love getting out in the jungle and the highlands and mapping and walking many kilometres a day just to surface map. Also to do rivers, sediment samples. It's rugged, but it's accessible.
Is it jungle or grassland?
There's some grassland in KRL North. Otherwise, in KRL South, it's mostly forested.
Yep. Okay, good.
But a lot of it's over 1,500, 2,000 metres altitude.
So, what's the timeline on the KRL licenses? When are you going to announce drill targets? When are you going to announce exploration targets? And what's the plan there?
We're actually meeting in Singapore next week to have a workshop on each of the areas, because we've now brought in 2 additional projects in May River and Kili Teke. We have done quite a lot of work this year on the KRL South and KRL North, where there's been a little bit of a delay in getting some of the assays back. So we're really waiting on some of the assay results, in particular for the trenching that we've done in KRL South. We feel that will reveal more about our thoughts on what the drilling targets might be in KRL South in particular. These assay results are starting to come in now, but until we have them in sufficiently, we still need to do a bit of reviewing of those and see if they're supporting our drilling target, what our conceptual drilling targets, which we have developed, but it really does need to be confirmed from some of the field work.
Okay.
The geophysics is starting to look really good. It's showing several levels of intrusive mineralization, and also the conductive side and the magnetics are starting to show us that we've got some decent sized porphyries underneath as well.
Okay. So essentially, you need more information out of your assays from the geophysics, but you've got a workshop next week where presumably you'll be talking about the demands on your time and attention and financial resources from the other projects as well. So let's talk a little bit now about May River before we go on to Kili Teke.
Sure. Okay. Well, May River we acquired May River from 2 groups who owned quite significant tenements. I think originally it was 1 tenement that was split in 2, and now we're acquiring it from 2 parties. As part of our due diligence, we sent a team up to May River in the areas that had been explored historically. And recently in April, May, we sent our team up for a 4-week field program to verify the results that were previously there, to resample some trenches, to do a lot of mapping of rivers, soil sampling, and confirming some of the structures that had been identified over the years. So that was quite successul. The initial observations are positive.
You got some superb results of, I can see 54 meters at 1.8 grams gold and 109 meters at 1.5 grams gold. Presumably, yes. Those are from trench results. Are those your numbers or those historic?
They're historic. That is one of the areas of May River which is the Skarasa area, which is in the southern part of the area. We have 5 main prospects in May River. Skarasa had I think 13 drill holes, 54 metres at 1.83 grams a tonne and 109 metres at 1.53. That's very successful.
In drilling?
In drilling, yes, it's drilling.
Okay.
So the other areas that we have, we've got Foya, we've got Esarebe and Iku Hill. They have a combination of reprocessed magnetic data and also a fair bit of surface mapping and field work. We've found some anomalous gold, silver, lead areas within a larger silver anomaly. But Mountain Gate, we feel is probably our first target for at least this field work, where we saw some very, very promising copper results, where we had 5,000 ppm copper, and we've recently resampled that area, and we're just waiting for the assays for that. But we feel that is probably a chance to find some pretty significant porphyries and shallow. One of the porphyries we believe is quite shallow, and we also feel that there's a couple of epithermal prospects as well.
So May River is a significant package with 5 target areas in there, and your priority one within there, or the best looking one at the moment, is called Mountain Gate.
It is, but I think there's also some discussion about, we also have Skarasa that has previous drilling. So I think what we're doing at the moment is evaluating each of these in more detail. I'm not saying that it could be the drilling target, but it already has some drilling done, and that would probably be the easiest one to bring up to a drilling target and a resource.
Of course, if you've got those results, if you've got 154 meters at 1.8 grams gold and 109 meters at 1.5, and I think there's another 96 meters at 0.9 grams.
Yes.
Those are pretty spectacular historic drill results. Now that's really interesting. So there's almost an embarrassment of riches here. You're straight on strike from Kainantu. You've got, and just to put things in perspective, Frieda River is I think it was discovered in the 1980s, wasn't it? But it's ready to go into production. It's 12 million tons of contained copper and 20 million ounces of gold. Do you know what the grades are there?
Look, not offhand. I can certainly find out, but I know they're pretty decent grades, and it's just an enormous resource.
But in a sense, you've almost got to be careful what you wish for, but just because at K92, they've got the mine up and running, and it's a small tonnage underground operation, which seems to be acceptable in PNG, and yet the planning for Frieda River has not been plain sailing at all. It's owned by Panost, isn't it? Which is a Guangdong Chinese state-owned company. And in PNG, you've got these, it's seismic, it's high rainfall, you've got the tailings disposal challenge, Oktedi, well-known mine, but also well-known environmental problem. And riverine tailings or riverine tailings disposal or deep sea tailings disposal creates challenges. Can you give me a quick update on what I know it's not your bag, but in some ways it is, but what's happening with the permission to develop Frieda River? Is it going to go ahead?
To be honest, I can't answer that question, only because I've been focused on our own assets, and which just continue to keep growing. So I'm sorry, I can't really comment on that, but I can certainly make some inquiries. We do have a relationship with Panost guys. They've been helping us with logistics in getting our team into May River. So there are some people in our group that know them quite well.
I mean, are they optimistic that they're going to be able to build?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because that's at the headline. In a sense, that'll be a real kind of bellwether for the country. If that goes ahead, that'll be kind of a green light for mine development.
Yes. Look, it's a reasonable country to develop mines. The approvals process is quite transparent. If you have good relationships, if you have good community relations with, with the locals, you can do business there.
Good. Well, let's move on to Kili Teke. Oh, hang on,
Yes.
before we do that. So in terms of May River, it sounds as if you've got a huge amount of kind of good drilling targets. You've got lots of potential, lots of places to lavish attention and investment.
Yes.
Again, are you going to be working out your drill plan, or the investment plan for the rest of the year in Singapore next week?
We will be establishing the work program for that. One of the things I think we probably need to do, as you rightly, pointed out, we have a lot of options, and they're very, very good options. So it's going to be very, very important to understand and evaluate and rank each of these options, because they will have different advantages, disadvantages, and capital requirements. So we realise that we need to spend our money wisely, and if we're going to be reasonably optimistic about developing several at once, there will need to be another capital raising. We've done the work on, say, the drilling targets at KRL South. We've been in discussions with half a dozen drilling companies. So we've sort of evaluated drilling companies, finding out their reputations, their availability of equipment, their availability of people. So we are moving that forward in parallel. We haven't decided on exactly the drilling target, and that's something that we'll be evaluating and deciding on fairly soon.
Okay. And what are the logistics like so say you wanted to drill at May River, is it much easier to drill from your logistics base in KRL, or and you mentioned that you were speaking to the Panost guys who are assisting with kind of logistics. Does that mean that it's much easier to drill in KRL than it would be to drill in May River?
KRL has very good access. It's we could drill without helicopter support. We've got good access. The teams can drive right up to the areas that they've been doing the mapping. We might need helicopter support for a couple of the potential drill locations. It is quite steep, but we also have an excavator that we're going to use for moving the rigs around as well. So we feel as though a lot of the work will be done with the assistance of an excavator. We may need some helicopter support. That will depend on where the final holes are located.
Okay, but May River is not road access, so that would definitely be a heli support operation.
It would be, but there is plans for a significant road to be developed to get us a lot closer than we can at the moment. At the moment, we did use helicopter support to get the teams in, but there also is river access as well that can get you quite close to the Mountain Gate area in particular.
Okay, and that road, that government-built road, is that the plan?
Yes.
Any timeline on that?
Not one, I'd believe. I think it might be an optimistic one. We'll see.
Okay. Well, I won't hold my breath to wait for that one. Third license area, the latest deal, April the 6th, it was announced.
Yes.
Kili Teke, tell me about that one, please.
Yeah, that's a very exciting one. It's Harmony Gold is a very substantial and successful company. They've been developing a number of assets and operations. We were able to enter into a definitive agreement with them to acquire 100% of the project. We did our own due diligence. We sent a team there to at least evaluate what's on the ground, the logistics. We could see where some of the old drill pads were, but there's no sort of current activity at the mine, at the project. So we will need to evaluate that, because it's got an inferred resource, as we said before, of about 800,000 tonnes of copper, 1.8 million ounces of gold, and 40,000 ounces of molybdenum. The work that's being done is to a high standard. So they've done the SAMREC resources report. we're currently in the process of converting that to an NI 43-101 report for submission to TSX. We have a draft almost ready to go, and we believe that, and know from talking to TSX that should be readily accepted.
And the grade on it, headline, I see 0.34% copper and 0.2 something gold. Is that enough for Papua New Guinea?
We feel that there's perhaps a different way to develop it. The inferred resource doesn't include a reasonable amount of very high-grade skarn and skarn breccia that we feel, and it's only because it's probably intermittent deposits, but it's around the edge of the porphyry. But we feel that with some very targeted drilling and only focusing initially on an open cut sort of resource, we feel that we can significantly improve the economics of the project. So that will be one of the projects we'll be working on in H2 this year, is to do a re-optimization study. There's enough information. There's 54 boreholes, 30,000 meters of drilling. The economics have been done. The project has been independently reviewed by Worley Parsons and AMC. And I guess we're, as a small company, we believe that we're perhaps a little bit more nimble. We don't have to develop the project initially as a significant sort of $1 billion, investment. We feel as though we can develop the mine at a lower capital cost and higher grade. And we feel that the economics, we believe from the initial work we've done that the economics can justify development of maybe a smaller scale operation initially.
Okay, so the plan would be to get in there, reevaluate the kind of, in a sense, the geology, and from that, relook at the resource and everything that flows on from that to create a kind of a more economic, smaller scale, kind of size appropriate, kind of basically reduce the size, reduce the resource envelope, and just whack the grade up and just change the economics on that basis, smaller throughput, higher grade. Well,
and reduce the risk, we believe, and also reduce the capital, which, the capital that was being evaluated, it was, for more appropriate for a larger company. Okay, well,
kind of takes the philosophy of the company away from exploration and towards advancement.
Yes, it does.
And is that another thing that's going to be on a quantum shift?
Yes.
And that very much plays into your strengths as a kind of a mining engineer with a background in technical evaluation.
Yeah, well, I'm just one of the team, but the other management and directors also have experience in operating mines as well. So we have the team we need, I think, to evaluate all of these assets now and take them down the development curve. Obviously, we would need some other resources, some other specialties, but we have the team in place to take the company forward.
So the strategy session next week in Singapore, will that create a new company philosophy, a new company strategy? Are we going to see kind of a presentation that's going to come out in the second half of the year with a kind of a big capital raise and kind of reshaping the destiny of the company?
I suspect so.
Okay.
I don't want to say too much. There's some work that we need to go through because we have assay results that are coming in, and the guys are currently writing reports on each of the assets. So to effectively review them and rank them and see which is our priorities, we really need the guys to be able to do their job, and we will use that information plus our own evaluation of May River and Kili Teke in particular to we will be ranking them. So not just internally, but against the three main assets.
Yeah, absolutely. Really interesting. So what are your kind of acquisition commitments for both May River and for Kili Teke? Have you got lump sum payments that you need to meet this year or next year?
I think we have $500,000 to Harmony is the main one, and $500,000 next year. and that will basically trigger the 100% ownership. The next tranches will be, look, I might get the numbers wrong, but I think might be a 3 million trigger to do a preliminary economic assessment that's positive, and then there's 4 million on the completion of a feasibility study.
At May River?
Kili Teke, sorry.
Kili Teke, okay.
I think the actual corporate numbers for May River, I think it's more a script for the current owners that will get script in KRL.
Okay, gotcha. Good. Well, thank you very much for the introduction to the company. A really interesting suite of assets, and as you say, that ranking and that review process is going to be so critical to work out how you're going to attack and advance and finance and choose the different various routes that you've got ahead of you. So I think that'll be a crucial step, perhaps, to be revealed in the coming months.
Yeah, I think one of our philosophies is to maintain a pipeline of projects, which is what we're doing, rather than put our eggs in one basket and just follow through with just one prospect. I think there'll be some news coming out on some other prospects that have come out of the geophysics. I won't sort of reveal anything on that at the moment, but that's in KRL South. We're evaluating those. And look, we're going to have more than enough to compare. Yeah, absolutely. Even in May River, there are 9 other prospects in the northern part of the area, away from the sort of the Mountain Gate area. It's a very significant tenement area, and there's some 9 prospects that we've researched that we have to look at those at some point as well. But I always like to simplify things rather than complicate it. So sometimes you open up the box and you try to do too many things at once, and you might find that you're not actually doing anything well. So we'll most definitely be focusing on those that we will be able to focus on, and we'll do them very well. If that means that some other prospects have to wait, that's mining.
Yeah, it is, and that's exactly the comment I made about how many mouths you're going to feed and which of your children is going to get more nutrition. So the ranking process, the reevaluation of the portfolio, and then the decision and the plan to raise money on the back of a set of priorities, I think is going to be a crucial step
yes,
for the company.
It's very exciting. I would rather be sort of blessed with too many options to consider than not enough. Indeed.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to catching up in the future.
Okay, Merlin, that's lovely. Thank you. All the best to you too.